Good evening. A Sussex MP has taken the dramatic step of resigning his party's whip because of his views about Brexit. Stephen Lloyd cited irreconcilable differences with the Liberal Democrats who want to stay in the EU. He says he wants to honour the wishes of his constituents in Eastbourne, where 57% of people voted to leave.
Well, Mr Lloyd says that he will vote for the Prime Minister's withdrawal deal in the Commons next week. His resignation means that he'll now sit in Parliament as an independent MP. In a moment, we'll be going live to Eastbourne with the latest. But first, our political editor, Helen Catt, reports.
The Lib Dems want to stop Brexit. Stephen Lloyd has promised not to. With tensions flaring over leaving the EU, it's a conflict that's become just too hard to balance.
It just got harder and harder in Parliament over the last few weeks, and I felt that I was putting my colleagues in a difficult position. A lot of members were contacting them saying it's outrageous, you need to force Stephen to change his mind. The truth is, people in Eastbourne know that if I make a promise to town, I just don't break it. So I've wrestled with it for the last few weeks, and the decision I really came to over the weekend was that the honourable thing to do was for me to resign the Lib Dem whip.
Stephen Lloyd has been consistently clear on where he stands with the media.
I don't disagree with my party over Brexit. I'm a Remainer. What it is I gave my word to Eastbourne that I would respect the result of the referendum.
With his party leader,
he made a pledge locally about his own voting, and he's a man of honour, and he will do what he said.
And with his Eastbourne constituents, many of whom told us they back his decision to support the town's 57% leave vote.
It's the right thing to do because, as he said, he was going to follow the wishes of the local people, which is what an MP should do.
It's a shame about Lib Dems because I do support Lib Dems, but he does the right thing for Eastbourne.
It's such a shame, isn't it, that somebody feels they have to resign on a matter of principle, really.
But not everyone agrees. Some party activists have put pressure on the Lib Dems to sack Mr Lloyd, although he says the decision to resign the whip is entirely his. In a statement, the party said, "We respect what we know was a difficult decision for Stephen ahead of next week's vote and are sorry to see him go." But it added, Liberal Democrats are clear that they will be voting against Theresa May's deal.
It's important, it's not just symbolic. The party have a very, very clear view on the EU withdrawal deal. It's counter to my promise. I've tried to square it. Clearly, I don't think that's really feasible any longer, and I don't think it's fair on the party. So I've taken what I believe to be an honourable decision, and I will live with whatever those consequences are.
As for Stephen Lloyd, he remains a Lib Dem member and still thinks Brexit is, in his words, crazy. But he'll now sit as an independent, and next week he'll walk through the lobby to back the PM's deal.
Let's talk to Helen, who's at Westminster for us now. And Helen, MPs are under a lot of pressure at the moment about which way they should vote next week on the deal. Many people think they should do what Stephen Lloyd has done and go with their constituents' wishes. It's not that simple, though, is it?
Well, no, every MP is going to be going through some sort of version of the process that Stephen Lloyd has here, trying to weigh up, party, their own personal beliefs and their constituents' wishes. In some ways, it's been a bit simpler for Stephen Lloyd. This, for him, was all about a personal promise that he was not going to row back on. He's been very clear about that over time. For others, it may be a bit trickier, not least because the referendum was done on council areas, not constituencies. So it's not always clear whether a constituency was leave or remain. Secondly, there's also a huge array of opinion about what people think about the deal. So MPs are getting their inboxes full of people giving them completely conflicting wishes, whether they will leave or remain. And the third one is that MPs are there to represent their constituents' best interests. So for some of them, if they believe that voting a certain way would harm them, well, how do they reconcile that? There's a lot of soul searching going on here at Westminster.
Indeed, Helen.